Check out the LogicMate YouTube channel, a new video every month, free bite-sized training. Today's session is going to take you through a language translation scenario using our InterForm NG products from our products portfolio. For those of you that have not come across InterForm NG2 before, InterForm NG2 is the InterForm output management system on that runs on an open system, so you can run it on a Windows platform or Linux or IBM. It's a Java-based product, so therefore it runs on anything that runs that supports a Java runtime environment. It can run in the cloud, or on premise. Although when we come when we talk about printing, actually the printers will be local. So the solution runs in the cloud, the printers run locally to wherever the print is required, and so on. The product is capable of taking inputs in multiple formats and also from multiple sources. So you'll see on the right hand side all the different sources. So it could come from an IBM MQ series or an output queue as a spool file. It can come from an XML file, CSV, text, whatever. There are all sorts of plugins as well. So the Microsoft Dynamics 365 product, for instance, has a plugin that we can take data directly into the InterForm NG2. It's capable of producing multiple output formats, so PDF, email, print, XML. The product is the interface to the product is a browser-based product, so we don't have to worry about loading desktop executables. You load it once on the server, and then everybody that needs access can be given access through the browser. And when you upgrade, you've got no upgrade issues, and so on. So the session today, the bite-sized training session today, is talking about how we produce documents in different languages. And the principle is that we use whenever we're producing text or fixed text that goes on the output document, we're going to use a key value, and that key value then gets translated into different languages automatically by the InterForm NG2 product. So we will design the template once, and we'll use that same template to produce multiple different languages. Now, the language text can be maintained by the user group rather than the developer. So we don't need to give the user group access to the language translation tables, the template design tables, so that they can't change the design. The developers will do that, but they can change the language text. These are some of the scenarios that we would consider using language translation. So in a manufacturing company where we create an export or exporting goods to other countries, we're producing delivery documents, invoices, and export documents, and so on. Those potentially now can be translated into different languages, whereas logistics companies are generally using driver manifest documents or transportation documents. And I know with the introduction of Brexit, there have been some changes to documentation for things like commodity codes and for country of origin. So there's a possibility that we could use different translation tables for different scenarios. It's not just, although the bite-sized training session today is talking about language, the translation tables are not just specifically for translating into different languages. They're used for translating one key value into other values. So it can be used for a multitude of other functionality. In the banking and the finance world, they're producing statements, letters, and exchange rate letters, and so on. Again, we can produce those in the language for the recipient. Here's a screenshot of the global settings at template level within the NG2 product. And what I've done is, as part of this example, I've set up a default language for an invoice document. in English, and then we can flip that into German and or French quite easily by just changing the sort of default language. But we can also take data from the input source and use one of the values from that data set to dictate what language can be the document's going to be produced in. So if the data says this needs to be generated for a French customer, we will then use that coding to switch the language code automatically when that document is processed. But also we could use a workflow element to say that if this particular queue is processing French documents, then the queue itself can be used through the workflow variable to say all documents on this queue will be produced in French, all documents on this queue will be produced in German, and so on. So this is how we control at the template level what the language will be used for the document that we're going to create. And then further down, when we do the document detail design, any piece of fixed text, instead of putting the actual plain text value and placing that onto the output result, we can use a translation key. So in this case, we're using a translation key of invoice, and then we're saying as a result, use that key to bring back the English equivalent of the text for the word invoice. And this is how we then control the output of the document itself. So here's some examples using an invoice template. We've got an invoice in English, then we've got the German equivalent, and in French we've got the facture output for French invoices. And all the text you'll see for all the other headings, we can actually vary those and produce the same format documents in different languages. And these are the translation tables. So this is what we would give the user the access to edit. So they would go in. You'll see here at the top of the screen, you've got the GB properties, and you've got the key amount, and then obviously the translated value. So that would be amount, and underneath German, the amount, and then you've got the German equivalent. So this is the translation table that's used within the actual document production. I'm going to just zip over to my browser session, and here's our dashboard for InterForm NG2. If I just navigate through to the template design that produces this output, so in the demo folder, invoice demo, we'll give it a few seconds for it to build its outputs example. So you can see that we are taking in an XML file in this particular case. So here are the XML details, and then the output is what you see on the right hand side, and this is set up in English currently. So if I just double click on a template and change this to say I want to use a different language, and I'll use the German language here, we can then see the output being rendered in a German language, and we can do the same French, whatever. So the developers develop the template, the users then provide the translation for that, and InterForm does all the clever stuff in the middle. So that comes to the end of the bite-sized training session today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please follow future bite-sized training sessions. Any suggestions that you have, just send them across and we can build something specific for you. Thanks a lot. Bye.